Hi there, welcome back. This is Lydia with Sweet King's Garden, and this video is going to be a little out of order. So I'm realizing as I'm editing that I accidentally deleted some of the clips that I had taken a few days ago. There's a couple of missing pieces to the video that I'm editing now, such as a proper intro. This video that you're about to see is me planting my spring garden. So this was a very big milestone for me because I was able to finally get my plant starts into the ground along with seeds that I direct sowed. Now, I would like you to enjoy the planting experience, and I thank you so much for your patience, so enjoy. I'm gonna take you around the gardens, one garden at a time, and plant what I have in pots. There are some things that I have to direct sow, but it's about to rain. It's on a weeknight, so I'm gonna try and squeeze as much of this in as possible. So this particular bed, we're actually going to plant 3 tomatillo plants, and they will be along this vertical trellis. Now, this trellis is actually a cattle panel that I had left over when I built vertical trellises for my tomato beds earlier in the spring, and it's just leftover material. Had I actually had more, I would prefer to have a full vertical trellis just to support all 3 plants, but I don't, and we're just gonna make do with what I have. And you'll see behind me, I also have an arch trellis. I will be direct sowing red noodle beans, which I will sow at another time. And I have some poppy seeds that I started from seeds. They've only sprouted. They have not actually developed any type of flower. So I'm just actually gonna put the little sprouts in here and see if they take, and we'll see if it works. So just so we can see what we're working with here, these are the little poppy starts, or sprouts I should say. So I'm gonna show you what all I'm working with, because if it's successful or it fails, I need to know what it looks like. This is a tiny tomatillo plant. This is the largest tomatillo plant that I have. And this is actually a medium-sized tomatillo plant. Next bed, we have 5 different tomato plants and 4 different kale plants that will be going on the other side of this trellis. Now keep in mind, this arch trellis will have the red noodle beans, and I will have sugar snap peas already planted in this garden. I have Lemon Boy hybrid, Ruby Monster, Dark Star hybrid, Paul Robeson, and the 5th will be Easy Sauce. I almost forgot worm castings. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit in each hole. I accidentally forgot about this when I planted the tomatillos, so hopefully they'll be okay. Now for the 3rd bed, we have 2 cucamelons that will go on this arch trellis, and then I have 4 tomato plants total. First, I have an heirloom rainbow blend. Then I have a black strawberry, one of my favorites that is new to me this year that I really wanted to try. Another black strawberry on the other side of this forage. And then the last one is a prairie fire tomato. That will be another first for me this year too. I am so impressed with this nasturtium. So it has yellowing leaves, which doesn't look really pretty, but look what bloomed literally just today. I checked on it 2 days ago and it was just a bud. So this is my very first and only nasturtium that actually took off. And look at that root system, crazy. It's the exact same as the very first tomato bed that I showed you that had 5 tomato plants, same order. I figured it would be nice to almost have like a mirror image on each side. Good morning, YouTube. It is a few days later. I had to plant the rest of my things without you, so this is going to be an impromptu garden tour because I want to show you all of the fun things that we planted, where we planted, and gosh, I am just so excited to see how this all takes off. So let's show you what we have going on. So this is the very first bed that we planted a few weeks ago. You can see my radishes are coming in so nicely. I think I see a few carrots here and there. Haven't seen the kohlrabi or kale really germinate yet, but I did plant my butter crunch lettuce at the middle part of this bed. But last night, as I was admiring this garden and looking at my beautiful radishes, I noticed slugs, teeny tiny white slugs. I don't remember seeing that issue the last time I planted radishes, but then I remembered that was in the fall time. We didn't have as many pests. We just did a little Googling and found that dish soap and water mixture should help resolve that, so I just sprayed the plants last night. But I was heartbroken when I see the slugs. I was like, no, they're after my plants. Oh, there's a nice little bumblebee. So moving on to the butterfly garden, I do want to show you this pot that I planted. So these are purple majestic potatoes. I've never grown potatoes before. I don't know if I've started them too late, but they needed to get planted because some of them were starting to get moldy. So I discarded the moldy ones, and then the ones that I could salvage, I planted them. So we'll see if we can have potatoes. Check out how beautiful this butterfly garden is. This is what I envisioned when I took you all for the very first garden tour in the winter time. I have my creeping speedwell ground cover that gets these gorgeous purple flowers. I have these deep purple clematis over here that was gifted to me from my mom. My butterfly bush is getting a lot of greenery. These here are balloon flowers. These get gorgeous. I'm excited to see them start to bloom. And then I have a foxglove. My chives are still now in full bloom. I have thyme. I have planted basil there, cilantro there, I think parsley on the other side of this catmint, and I have some sage and basil over here. Taking you over here, I'll show you what we have going on in my first raised bed. So here I have a TP trellis with extra cattle panel that we have, and I have a Kajari melon growing on either side here. I have one that direct sowed seed, and then I have this little Kajari melon plant here that I started indoors. And then as you see, it may be hard to see, but I have a bunch of dill. Last year I had tomatoes and dill in this garden. I'd say in the fall time, all of the excess dill, after I had ripped the plant out, I had a bunch of dill starting to grow everywhere, so I pulled that up. And then this spring I found some more again, and I'm just gonna leave it because I love dill. I definitely need it for my pickle making. We're just gonna let that go, and I'll pull it up as I need to. This is what I'm referring to as the hot pepper garden also. So I'll have the Kajari melon on this side of the garden, and then I have 2 poblano peppers here, and then right where that rock is, there's actually a poblano plant there. And then I have a jalapeno, I believe. Yep, a jalapeno. You could see a nice dill patch there too. And then I have a habanero and cayenne pepper that I saved from my dad's plant that he had given me plants last year. So that was super fun. These are extra plant starts that I started, and I have some close friends of mine that I will be giving those to. And then I planted some annuals up here just to give a nice little look, primarily purple, of course. I have more peppers. So I have sweet banana peppers. It's really hard to see these plants because my weeds are taller than my pepper plants over there. Now this tag says it's a peppercini. The leaves kind of look like a tomato, so I'm a little suspicious about that one, but we'll see if that's actually a peppercini plant or not. It just doesn't look like the other peppers. And then I have a shishito pepper back there. I do have dill that I purposely started from seed there. And then I have greens in the back. So I have some Swiss chard, kale, and then these are extra tomato plants that I don't have friends or family that have claimed them, but I don't want to get rid of them. So we're just kind of putting them for safekeeping in the garden. And then I have some poppy flowers that I started from seed. I don't know if they'll actually do anything, and chamomile at the corners of each of these raised beds. As we enter the garden extension, you see my sugar snap peas. I did show a little progress picture on Instagram, but they're starting to find the trellis, and look, we have our first pea that's starting. Oh, I am just so excited. So I'm just coming in here like every day to see if I can help guide these to the trellis a bit, but I have 5 sugar snap peas. And the thought is that they will travel up this side of the trellis. And because sugar snap peas are colder weather, I will plant them first and have them started in the arch trellis. And then on the other side, I actually have bullhide beans. If you check out my very first, if you check out my seed pack video, where I review all of the seed packs that I had planned to start, the other type of beans in here are supposed to be these like squatty dark purple beans, but they are pole beans, and I have 4 plants that I just direct sowed yesterday. So my thought process is that once the sugar snap peas peter out, then I'll have the other beans start to take off, and then I'll just take these plants, and then I might sow sugar snap peas again later in the fall time. The next arch trellis we have are cucumbers. So I started 2 gherkin cucumber plants inside. So I have 1 plant start on each side of the trellis, and then I direct sowed additional cucumbers so that I can have them succession sow and hopefully bring in cucumbers. I might even sow some closer towards the fall time to get a second round in. And then for the very last arch trellis, we have our sugar baby watermelons. So I have 2 started total, 1 on each side, and again they will pass each other hopefully. Oh, there's a spider web. The very first raised bed we have over here, I essentially made a mirror image. From here over is a mirror image of there over. On each end I have borage, and then I have a pepper plant where you see the pink tag, and then up front I have chamomile. And then yesterday I just popped in some nasturtium seeds and direct sowed that. So again, that's mirror image on either side of this middle trellis here. And then in the back here where you see 3 round areas of dirt, I have 3 edamame plants. So those are soybeans, never grown them before. Over to this 4x12 bed, I have my beautiful, oh my gosh, this just makes me so happy. My nasturtium plant. This is the only nasturtium plant that actually took off for me, and it bloomed this beautiful orange flower, so that made my heart so full. So I direct sowed a nasturtium seed over here. Hopefully I'll have 1 growing on this corner. And then down this row I have 5 tomato plants. These are different varieties. And then on this side I have 1 pepper, dill, and then another pepper, and then in the front I have some radishes that I just sowed into the ground yesterday. Now this bed here will be a mirror image of the bed at the very end, minus a few things, but for the most part I'm just trying to think of how the aesthetics will look like. In the middle garden here I have butter crunch lettuce, Swiss chard butter crunch lettuce, and then on the other side of the trellis here I have 2 different tomato plants, borage, and then 2 different tomato plants. And then on this arch trellis going both ways, I'll have cucamelons. So I had 2 cucamelon plants that I started indoors, so I planted them here. And then yesterday I direct sowed cucamelon seeds into the ground. And again, that's to help encourage different waves of the cucamelons. Now what I thought would be super cool is to have this trellis have mini cucumbers, and then the trellis right behind it have pickling cucumbers, so like a mini version of the larger one. I am not growing any like fully large cucumbers at all, just because the pickling cucumbers primarily use them for pickles. Alex isn't a huge fan of cucumbers, but I was also able to just use the smaller pickles for my salads and like other things, so I'm quite fine with not having large cucumbers, and just the smaller ones are fun, at least to me. Last bed in this middle row we have here, again, is that mirror image on the other side. So I have 5 tomato plants. And then on the other side here, I have greens. So as opposed to the other side where I had peppers and dill, I have kale, poppy flowers, and then kale going down. For this arch trellis, we will have red noodle beans. So I direct sowed all of those noodle beans yesterday. I did not start any just because the packet said to direct sow, so no need to succession sow or anything. But those beans get super long, so I specifically wanted to put them at the very last arch trellis, essentially the end of the garden, just because we're not going to be walking through this arch trellis as much as we will be walking through the other arch trellises. On this bed, this is tomatillos. I did some Googling and YouTubing, and after I had started my tomatillo plants, of course the whole purpose of me starting these plants is because I love salsa verde. I've never made it before, and I really wanted to try my hand at making it for the first time this summer, but I hear that they go crazy. I just grabbed the very last cattle panel piece that we had. Ideally, I should have put a larger piece here, but we're just gonna make things do. So I actually have 3 tomatillos plants started, and again, I know it's hard to see these plants because they're so tiny. And then I have a 4th one for safekeeping. If I find a home for that, then I'll probably pull that out. Otherwise, we're just gonna let that ride in this bed. Then I have poppies growing at this end, and then at this end I have more poppies, and I think I sowed carrots here. Yesterday as I was direct sowing different things, then I was like, oh, I think I have enough room to put all of these random things in. So I'm starting to lose track of what I've planted, so that's another reason why I'm excited to see how this all goes. So the very last bed that we have, I have green spring onions here. So these are these buncheon onions, and I have 2 rows of those, and then 1 row of carrots, and then where these mounds are on either side of the zinnia, those are zucchini plants, and these are ones that hopefully I'll be able to start both of these plants, and then as they peter out, I'll also 2 more plants, so I'll have 4 total, 1 for the spring and then another set for the fall. And then store-bought zinnias, I cannot take credit for that. But everything else, so as I look around, the only thing that I bought from the store are the make-up strawberry plants and the zinnias. Everything else I either direct sowed or started from seeds. In terms of strawberries, we are starting to get some fruits, so that is really exciting. We've gotten a lot of rain the past couple of days, or a reasonable amount, so that's good for the garden. It saves some work on my end. And then this is what one of the green stalks look like, where I direct sowed some herbs. So we have a few things starting to come up. but not nearly as much as the other one. Now the other one is really starting to do something. And look at this. I just realized this is nasturtium. Maybe the universe is hearing my plea and frustration. I'm so excited. So those are 2 nasturtiums. It looks like there's a little guy here that's trying to peek through. Oh, that is so exciting. And then this is the Swiss chard that I transplanted. That seems to be doing okay. And then, of course, I forgot everything else that I planted. So we'll see. Well, that about does it for this humid spring garden tour. My hope was to be able to take you along with me as I planted everything, and you'll see that in the very first part of this video. But it was just awfully hard trying to get the camera around, and then with the limited time I had after work, and then it was just such a busy weekend, but I finally got everything done, so I'm very excited for that. So as always, thank you so much for following my journey so far. I cannot wait to see how this all does this year. Let me know what you're planting this year, if you have any of the same things, or just let me know what you're most excited to see from your own garden. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Hi there, welcome back. This is Lydia. Woo-hoo.